Greetings and welcome to the Introduction to Astronomy. In this week's Misconception in Astronomy, we are going to talk about the lunar landers and find out if we can indeed see those through a telescope from locations on Earth. So, can we see the lunar landers from Earth? And the quick answer is no. There is no way you can see something. They are far too small to be seen from the distance of Earth. The diameter of a lunar lander is roughly about 4 meters. Now that refers to the lander itself, not the legs sticking out, but the legs are not going to make it really any more visible from Earth. It's the large part of it that you would likely be able to see. Now the question then is, how big would this appear to be? And we can do a quick calculation on that to figure out what size it would be. And we do that in terms of measuring an angular size here, given by the Greek letter theta. That is the angular size that something would appear. And it depends on how large the actual object is, in this case about 4 meters. And it depends on the distance between yourself and the object. So the closer an object is, as we know, the larger it's going to appear. The farther away it is, the smaller it's going to appear. Well, if we do this calculation for the lunar lander on the moon, we find out that it has a diameter of about 0.002 arc seconds, 2/1000ths of an arc second. Now, for clarification, 3,600 arc seconds make 1 degree, and our moon itself, the entire moon, is about half a degree in size. So this is an incredibly tiny fraction of the moon that we're trying to be able to see. Now, if we want to look at a powerful telescope, let's just pick out Hubble Space Telescope, and that's because it is up above Earth's atmosphere and has a position in space that really keeps the atmospheric interference from being a problem. So, would we be able to see it? Well, we can do that same calculation that we just did and do that with the Hubble telescope and figure out what the smallest object it can resolve would be, and theoretically that is about 1/10 of an arc second. That's still an incredibly small number, but nowhere near the size that we need to be able to do that. We need to be able to see even smaller things to be able, for Hubble Space Telescope, to be able to resolve the lunar landers on the moon. And in fact, you can see it's about a factor of 50, so you would need a telescope about 50 times larger, or about 120 meters, much larger than any telescope on Earth, much larger than any telescope we've built or even have planned. So that would be the problem, and that would be the minimum telescope to just barely be able to resolve something that size. To really be able to see it, you would need something much, much larger, even larger than that, to really be able to pick out something larger. Now, what we do know is that we can see it from lunar orbit, and we have images from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, such as the one shown here, where we can actually make out the lunar module there. And that is with a much smaller telescope, but also from a much closer location, which is just in orbit around the moon. And we can see the lunar module off to the right-hand side with its shadow. We can actually see the footpath taken, the path taken by astronauts leaving the lunar module and heading out to where the scientific instruments are left toward the upper right-hand side. So it can be imaged, it just has to be done from lunar orbit and cannot be seen from Earth. So let's go ahead and finish up with our summary here. And what we've looked at today is that no, lunar landers cannot be seen from Earth even through the most powerful telescopes. Their angular size is simply way too small to be resolved by those telescopes. But we can see them from lunar orbiters, such as the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which we do have images of the various lunar landers through the mapping done by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. So that finishes this week's Misconception in Astronomy on the lunar landers being able to be seen from Earth. We'll be back again next week for another Misconception in Astronomy. So until then, Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you in class.